Today's a big day. This picture was just a photo op. We didn't go anywhere. So we're starting off today. I have somebody taping today, and she has had several surcingles on, cinches. So just because this is her very first ride, she's been cinched several times with the surcingle when I've ground driven her, once with a bareback pad, and once with her first saddle that was in the photo in the beginning of this video. I could not get that saddle to stay on her, so I got my other saddle out, and it doesn't want to slip like the previous one did, even though they're both wide trees. This one seems to fit her much better. And so today I'm gonna put a back cinch on her. I'm gonna take it off before I ride her, but I figured she could get used to the back cinch. So since this is the first time with this saddle, and it has a breast collar, there's a lot of adjustments I have to make, and plus it was on one of my horses, so a lot of adjustments for first time. Turned her around so you can see what I'm doing. I always remind the horse that cinch is coming up, and also take a feel under her belly to make sure there's no dirt or debris or crustiness right under that girth. I want her to stand on a loose line to be tacked, and I keep that rope under over the crook of my arm, but not holding her tight. So if she steps toward me, I'll do a counter move to push her away, and just place her back where she was. I don't get too picky if a horse backs up. I just back up with them, and then eventually they'll stop doing that.
Doesn't look disturbed, just sitting there with her back leg up.
In this video,
yeah, I know, yeah.
I'm going to get on her just briefly going forward, and then do some more work with her. Ground driving, a little lunging, I think, and another little exercise. And then get on her again. I like short and sweet. Let them soak on it, see nothing happened, and then go back to it again. And you'll see if you watch the next video after this how much more relaxed she is and knows what is expected of her. Instead of asking her walk, trot, canter the first day when she doesn't know what's going on, and might be confused, or the cinch might bite her in that confusion, and then you have a bucking mess that you have to undo. I try to make it a positive experience for both parties as I can, and this is the way I've been doing it for years, and it's worked out for me. Most of my first rides have been at people's houses on their farm, and 2 hours of first meeting the horse. But that's assuming they've done all their homework and have that horse ready to ride, meaning not afraid of people, not afraid of somebody on the mounting block,
Right.
Basic giving to the bridle. Here I'm using a rope halter, put her first ride on. I don't use bits to put rides on horses anymore. I haven't been for, gosh, at least, I think about 15 years, putting all my first rides on bitless. I've been doing this for over 20, and as a professional, doing a lot longer. I'm not getting paid, but I've never had a first ride buck, thanks to the grace of God. First, second, or third, I've never had one buck on me. So it's working for me, and I'm thankful I'm able to continue to do this, especially at my age. I wish I could, as I'm recording over this, I can only see a small picture, or I'd be doing a better job of explaining what we're seeing here. But here she's reacting a lot more because she has the back cinch on. So she's a little angry. She's a little upset. It's biting her a little more than normal. But I want her to feel all that. Sometimes people will buy a new horse, young, old, doesn't matter, and then they got a saddle that has a back cinch and they know nothing about it, but they're going to put it on because it came with the saddle. So this way, if I get her used to that, two things: if someone ever puts a back cinch on her, she'll be used to it, not likely to buck them off if she feels it. And the other reason is, if you have a back cinch on and you get the horse over that bucking reflex, then the front cinch is going to be a piece of cake. So just working her through that, making her do lots of turns, get her mind on me, and stop focusing on what's going on in the back end there. But she doesn't like it at all. The other thing is I can keep her on a line, and instead of turning her loose, and help her get out of trouble, help her focus on me. Some people put saddle, front and back cinch, and just turn that horse loose. And here with that, what we're doing here, it might be funny to look at, but it's not funny if a horse runs himself through a round pen, crashes their legs into the round pen. I've seen that, and to me it's disgusting. People laughing at that while your animal gets hurt, an animal that you've raised up to the age of riding them, and then have to let them go through all that. So I don't think they have to go through all that, and I prefer they didn't get traumatized by their first saddle and their first rider. And of course I don't want to get traumatized either. So we just ease her into it every step of the way of the process, and set ourselves up for success. So here I'm throwing a kick at her, just get her attention. Hey, don't check your brain out. When I do these things, sometimes it upsets people if I'm assertive with horses, but it's nothing compared to what other things that happen to them with a young horse being started under saddle with a bit in their mouth, and they get scared and the rider hangs on to that. It's a lot worse than anything I'm going to do to her. That can happen with a chain over the nose or a bit in the mouth. So I give her some pretty swift corrections with the rope halter. It doesn't tickle either, but it is not as severe as a chain, nor is it as severe as metal in the mouth. So she is going to get corrections, but they're not going to be as severe as they could. Yeah, I was sending her off a little bit and asked her to come back in. And, now that she's at liberty, I've eased her into it so she's not bucking blind or out of her mind. She's just a little pissed off, or a lot pissed off, but not so much. She's not in so much fear that she can't listen to me. She's agitated. She has her attention span is not too big because she's never had to work a day in her life since she came to Bobcat Farm. but planning to make her an honest citizen, and a horse that'll take care of its rider and bring out the best in her. She's been a lot of fun to work with. Opinionated and all. Just trying to see where we are in this video. Some of this may be boring for some folks that want to get right to the first ride, and which looks like it's coming up, but I may make a video and splice them all together, just the riding part, but just want you to see what really happens, at least for me, with me, how I start colts. And I think the next time that I rode her after this session, I got on her, I pulled her out of the pen, and well, actually it was one more time after that, pulled her out of the pen and just got on her with a bareback pad, kind of for a photo op. And you know, she had no objections. Once I get them going and get the respect established, I don't lunge them. I just go get them out of the pen and get on them. I expect they know the rules, but up until that point, no rules have been established, like stand to be mounted, or you have to have respect for me on the ground or under saddle at all times. But once we've put in our time, done our homework, then we don't have to work the horse. You know, we can move him around a little bit, see what his attitude is, and hop right on and expect him to keep us safe, you know. And that's why I insist every ride, starting with the first one, that we're just going to stand to be mounted. We're not going to walk off. I don't have anybody hold the horse for me. Figure if I can't get on him, he's not ready to ride if he won't stand there. I quit doing that probably 15 years ago. So I'm just getting up there, try to put my weight more over to the right so I don't pull the saddle off, and see if she'll stand at that juncture, and then walk her off. I like to have them kind of loose and know that they're kind of cooperating, and then can do that again by repeating these short steps. The horse really doesn't have time to hold his breath or worry and say, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? And he can have, you know, a little sigh of relief. Okay, that wasn't that bad. And just ease him into it instead of just getting up there and ask him to go somewhere. So the only other time this horse been sat on was probably a few days or a week before, just for a photo op. I just sat there, I backed her up one step and I got off. I flexed her, but I didn't go forward at all. So it's just amazing to me that these horses allow us to ride them. In her mind, she's the first horse in the history of the world that's ever had to have a human on her back. You know, just because we're used to seeing people ride horses, that horse is going, are you kidding me? I've been on my own for 5.5 years. No human's ever tried to ride me. You know, so I'm still amazed they allow us to do this, and grateful that I can do this as a job. So you can see, even though she's a big girl, I'm not sure how tall she is. My horses are small, but she's probably 15. To some people that's tiny. To me it's a big girl. You could see she's not balanced under me. She's like, holy smokes, are you kidding? You know, she don't know where her legs are with me on her. She doesn't know what I'm asking. So I just get up, get down, again, let her think on it a second, see, okay, nothing bad happened. Try again. And get on again, and again, just ease her into it, and you'll be amazed, just like I am, when you see how much she improved. And just the second time, a little while later, I'm not sure, I have to look at my calendar, but when I ride her again, I'll have the date when I post the next video, to see how much they retain. And you know, even if I didn't get on her again and put her away and didn't get on her a year later, she wouldn't forget a thing. Of course, you're going to advance farther and faster the more you do. But if you do nothing, you do nothing wrong. So I'm very happy that she was not, that nobody tried to start her under saddle at the rescue, or I would have no idea what they had done right, what they had done wrong, or even previous to that. So she's a clean slate under saddle. I've had to undo stuff on the ground, but under saddle she's a clean slate. I love that. Still doing first rides. I am refusing to do re-rides, but even though I've said that, I've done them anyway. But I really don't want to do them. Because usually, if somebody's tried to ride the horse, it's gone bad if I'm getting called. And then they've already had success bucking someone off. So I prefer and will mostly refuse to do re-rides and only do first rides. And then, of course, everything else that I do working with problem horses. Yeah, you just see her. She's just not sure what to do. And I just want to flex her, make sure I have an emergency brake from the very first ride. And if I practice it every time, it will become a muscle memory that when I slide my hand down that rein, that I want you to stop your feet. And then once you stop your feet, I give you a mini release. And then I want you to flex all the way and take your nose and touch my boot. And that would be a one rein stop, an emergency stop. And let's see, so now I am still going to ride her some more at the end, but I'm going to do this task that I do with many horses. I set up the cones, and I want the horse's bum on the cone and his front feet. I draw a line in the sand where I want the front feet to stay. And I did do this with her, I think the day before for the first time. And at first they don't understand what is being asked. And then you and the horse start thinking together. The horse starts knowing what you want as soon as you ask it, even before you ask it, by reading your body language. So how good is it is if I can get her and put her feet on a mark and have her stay there, okay? And when I do give her a correction, and again, looks pretty swift, but I think of it as a electric fence. So before she gets a bite or sting from that electric fence, I wiggled that rope twice and suggested for her to get off of that pressure. And this horse was used to running through pressure, bolting in hand when she'd had enough work. Her former owner told me that she would just take off. So when they feel the pressure, instead of getting off of it and backing off of it, they'll run through it. So when I wiggle that rope to tell her to back up, it's warning, warning, or 1, 2, sucks to be you. If I withhold that correction and do not correct her or discipline her for going through the pressure, then I've taught her to push through pressure.
But you can see she
It would
wants to
be
do
like
what you want
her
her to
getting
do.
shocked
She's paying attention and
from electric fence and running through it and getting a reward. And this mare has run through fences. When she came here, I was told we have pretty solid wood fence where she is, that I would have to wire it with electric, that she would respect that, but she did not respect boards. So your horse has to respect the electric fence is a punishment. A horse hits it, and most horses will back off of it unless you're unfortunate enough to own a halflinger. I'm just kidding. Don't get after me for that. Foals run through fences if they're not taught. If they hit electric fence and there's no board to back it up for them to back off of it, they'll run through it. It's like dogs on electric fence on those perimeters. And they get shocked. They're supposed to back off of it instead of run through it. So it's kind of the same concept. I'm telling her to get off the pressure, do not run through it, do not bolt, and understand what I'm asking and respond. Same way you want them to respond when you have a bridle. If you use a bit to get off the pressure and don't run through it. So let's see, is this about over? And I'm going to do some ground driving, I believe, coming up next.
yeah, right.
And she's been ground driving a few times. Each time she gets a little better. And the lines are down low, which it makes it very hard to handle them. But if you ground drive through stirrups on a Western saddle, you need to tie the stirrups together underneath, so if the horse starts taking off, you don't want the stirrups slapping them and scaring them further. This is very dangerous, along with everything to do with horses, but you can get kicked, dragged, stomped on, a myriad of different things if you're doing what I'm doing right here. So don't try this at home. I carry a knife on me all the time, so if something bad were to happen, and thank God it never has, that I could cut myself or the horse free of a line. But being out of the stirrups, or if I was in a surcingle out of the rings, I have one line in my left hand that I can toss my right line and pull the horse to me, send the bum away, and back her up. So I have enough command of her emotionally that I can keep myself safe. But the reason I like to do this, ground driving, being almost directly behind them, is simulating what I'm going to get, the understanding that I'm going to get if I'm up on her back. Okay, when I pull my right rein, she should tip her head right. Left rein, tip her head left. How about when I ask her to halt? In a traditional halt, not a one rein stop, but a regular halt. Is she going to respond? I can see what she's going to do when I'm ground driving her. She doesn't understand it that much. As most young horses, when you pull back, they drive into that pressure or go behind the pressure, resist it. So when I'm ground driving her and I asked her to halt, I'll say her name, Becca, and woo. And as I say her name and the word and, I let the lines slide through my hands a little bit, providing a little bit of a resistance, and gives her a little warning that we're going to halt. So by doing that, repeating it over and over, pretty soon, when I say Becca, she'll know to start transitioning down to a halt. And I usually give her a squeeze and release, and then I'll squeeze and hold till she stops and back her up for not halting. But I usually give her a few chances at the halt, again, to ease them into the understanding, and see as we go along that she gets better and better. But this is what it looks like when they're really green, and teaching them to either ground drive or to ride and be started under saddle. Almost every horse that I put the first ride on, out ground driving, even if it's one time. And I can see what I have going on. Preferably, I'd like to do it more than once, but when I'm starting horses off farm, many times it's one time, because I'm getting on them the first time I meet them, within 2 hours, doing all this groundwork before. Again, it's nice if the owner has got them up to a certain point where that I can do that on the first day, and most people have that I've gone out to. So I usually don't have the lines dragging on the ground like that, but I did. Well, it's hard to hold the whip, hold the lines when you're not in terrets or in the stirrups. So I let them drag this day. And again, the picture's so small for me to look at. I know she had some trouble points, but work through them spots and always ending on a good note. And there's nothing edited out of these. They're short clips. So you see what happens behind the barn, in front of you. I don't hide anything that I do. So here, we're going to finish up the session. So she still doesn't know much, but again, earlier in the session, she's like, all right, we already did this. Nothing bad happened. I think I can handle it. I don't know what she wants, but hey, I guess I can try. I guess I can try and figure it out. So, by setting up these little obstacles, even if you do not have a ring, an enclosed ring, I put on plenty of first rides with no ring, and rehabbed even a horse that bolted under saddle, under many people, did it with no ring, and to ride in, and or no round pen. And I did it by setting up obstacles and driving the horse through the obstacles. So at least the horse can say, hey, I think I did this. I think I know that I go from here to the red ones, to the cones, and it just gives them a little bit of a pattern to understand. And yeah, I could just slap her and a round pen with nothing in it and say, just get on. I could, but that's not how I do it. I do it like this, so I found it works for me. and the horse progresses really quickly, and everybody's happy. So stay tuned for more videos. They take a long time to put these all together and try to keep them in the right order, but all the footage from this was in 1 2-hour session, and stay tuned for future videos of her under saddle. And don't forget to like them if you do, and if you don't, I'm sure there's many other trainers that you can follow. But if you've come this far, you might, I think you might like the style, and stay tuned.
We're not going to back up. Yep. All set?